the opportunity of watching this man grow, especially in our recovery homes and in the nonprofit. Right in front of my eyes, he became a loving father. He's been a mentor and a sponsor to other men in recovery rooms. He's a true comeback story and an inspiration to everyone in recovery. Let's welcome John to the stage.
Thank you, buddy. Good evening, family. Wow. I first want to start and read a daily reflection before we get started. Time with me cannot be rushed. When you're in a hurry, your mind flitters back and forth between me and the tasks ahead of you. Push back the demands pressing in on you. Create a safe space around you, a haven in which you can rest with me. I also desire this time of focused attention, and I use it to bless you, strengthening and equipping you for the day ahead. Thus, spending time with me is a wise investment. Bring me the sacrifice of your precious time. This creates sacred space around you, space permeated with my presence and my peace. First, I want to thank Project Exodus and Next Generation Recovery for asking me to come and share my testimony with you guys tonight. It's by God's grace and only by God's loving grace that I sit before you guys tonight. So, I'll start. My family is all from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They moved down to Florida in the late 70s. Why? I guess it was cold. I don't know. That was a good enough answer for me. My mother had me at the age of 16. I never met my father. I was born in 1984. I'm a Scorpio. I was born October 30th, the day before Halloween. Go Scorpio. And I'll just show. Stop. So on the bottom left, these are two young pictures of my mother. I'll just say, like, she was my rock. Not having a father, my mother did everything that she could so that I could, have the best life possible. She worked 2 jobs. I never had a father figure in my life, but I had my uncle and my grandfather who, growing up, I seen, like, my grandfather was the provider, right? He provided for the household. My grandmother, she did the domestic stuff. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of the kids, things of that sort. So I seen a lot of that. Growing up, I moved around a lot. I went to many different schools in the same county. I was born in Orlando, Florida. Just north of Orlando is Seminole County. So growing up, like I said, I moved around a lot with my mother. She always had multiple jobs to make ends meet, things of that sort. Looking back, I would say that I had a great childhood. Like, I never needed for nothing. Like, we didn't have a lot. Like, Christmases weren't very, huge and elaborate, but I didn't need for nothing. If there was that one gift that I wanted, my mom always made sure that I had that, So, moving forward a little bit, I played baseball growing up. I loved playing baseball all through high school. I went to 3 different high schools in the same county, in Seminole County. I went to Lake Mary as a freshman. I went to Lake Brantley High School as a sophomore. And junior and senior years, I graduated from Lake Howell High School. And those are all in the same county. I graduated high school in 2003, a long time ago. 2003, and wow. So I do remember some of the first things of my addict behavior began really with just like smoking cigarettes, hanging out with kids after school and stuff like that. I smoked weed here and there and things of that sort, but I remember, and I'll say that addiction ran in many forms in my family. Gambling, alcoholism, drug addiction. There was a lot. Compulsive, like buying, hoarding, things of that sort. But I never really knew what that stuff was. It was a normalcy for me. It's just what I knew. So I'll say in about high school, I remember going to my grandmother's house. Like I said, she was the one that was the compulsive buyer, the gambler, the hoarder. Like, if you needed it, Granny had it, right? So I remember looking in her garage one afternoon with a friend of mine, excuse me, and we came across a duffel bag, right? And both of my grandparents were on pain pill medication. My grandmother was the type that they didn't take all the pain medication. They weren't addicts like that, but she would store them, right? So they would both get prescribed a certain amount of pain pill medication. They would only take half of them. My grandmother would hoard them in a duffel bag, right? So I remember me and a friend of mine going into the garage and finding this said duffel bag, right? And I remember taking some that day and just feeling amazing, right? I didn't have any problems. Like, there was, and the sad part about it is that it wasn't when my friend just took a couple. Like, I wanted more, and it wasn't enough, right? I wanted to continue taking more, you know. I remember throwing up that day, but wanting to do it again, and so that was about 2004. So I definitely had addict traits that were happening. I didn't see them then. A couple years later, both of my uncles they did fire sprinkler systems, and so I seen that growing up. And I was offered a job to travel the country. It was a gentleman out of Atlanta, Georgia, and he said, look, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've seen it my whole life, but I don't know, you know. He's like, just come, you know. So I jumped on a Greyhound bus, got off into downtown Atlanta. I was like, oh my goodness. And what did I get myself into? But what that did was it allowed me to run from my problems, right? I knew that I wouldn't have to be at home around mom, people that were going to hold me accountable and things of that sort. And I could do this behind their backs, right? But also, it learned me a skilled trade. I was always good at what I did, so I traveled the country for a couple years, and I ended up coming back home. I ended up losing my job because of my work, you know, my work ethics and things of that sort, and I got fired and sent back home. So at this point, I remember going downtown one night in downtown Orlando, and I met a girl there, and it was a great night, you know, drinking, doing all these things, just having a good time. You know, she invited me back to her house, and I'm like, okay, she's got a house, like, you know, like, so this is good, you know. So I ended up, you know, going over there. Long story short, we slept together out of wedlock, and that's when I had my first son, John Jr. That was, yeah, that was August 1st, 2008. Me and her had issues. We weren't together for the right reasons, I believe. Looking back now, we were together just for my child, and that didn't work. As JJ was getting older, obviously I was living in her home, right? I was working, doing things like that. But I was using behind her back. I was continuing to take pain pill medication and things like that. I was working. I was there physically, not mentally, or I may have been there monetarily, paying, you know, doing whatever. But like, just I wasn't there as a father figure, as a husband, as anything like that. And a friend of mine and I, we were copping from a drug dealer. We knew this guy very well and things like that. And this acquaintance, I wouldn't even call it a friend, it was just an acquaintance. Me and him decided that we were going to rob this drug dealer, right? And so we had this elaborate plan. We were going to go over there. We were going to rob him. We weren't going to rob him. We were going to go over there and get some drugs, and then I was going to text my guys outside, like, gotcha. They were going to come in and take all these drugs, right? As they kicked the door in, and a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine that was there, just because he was trying to fit in, was getting beat up pretty bad. And so at that point, me and the guy that I was there with decided to turn on them. A gentleman that was in this home pulled out a .40 caliber handgun, and I was shot 5 times with a .40 caliber handgun. And it was 2 days after my son's first birthday. So now I wasn't there. I was on my deathbed. And it was by God's grace that, he had a different plan for me, because even at that time, I was in a coma, in a medically induced coma on propofol for 7.5 weeks. And I was in Trauma 1 in Orlando at their Trauma 1 hospital for 4.5 months. Learned to walk, talk, like full trach, like it was bad, And so after that 4.5 months, after coming out of there, excuse me, sorry. Sorry. Well, so after coming out of the hospital, me and the kid's mother, we obviously had problems, but the trauma that had happened in my life brought my family closer together because of that trauma, per se, if you understand what I'm saying. Because I was going through it, right? I had massive abdominal traumas. I still have a bullet in my back. Like, I couldn't walk. We had a 1-year-old child at home. She was now having to work. I was having to lay on the couch all day. They couldn't even tend to me, let alone to my child. So all day when my mother would be at work, Therese would be at work, I would have a newborn baby next to me with his pack and play, dirty diapers, things. I couldn't do anything, right? But we did what we had to do. So those problems that we had originally before I got shot started to come back around as I started to get better. Out of the hospital, this was around the pill epidemic, and this was when people were going down south, filling in house, things of that sort. I was going straight to the hospital because when I came out of the hospital, I was physically dependent on opiates, right? It wasn't what I asked for, but in my head, in my addict head, I'm like, this is great. Now I don't have to do all that. I can get them, So over the next couple of years, I was on full disability. I wasn't able to work. I wasn't collecting a check. I thought this was great. And I was living with a woman who, we didn't love each other. We were there for a child. I was getting money from the government. I was getting, my DOC straight from the hospital. And I thought it was great, right? As I started to get better over the next couple of years, I really realized that I didn't know where my pain levels were. I was using that as a coping mechanism. I was like, oh, this is why. I went to the hospital at 220. I came out at 160, and I'm like, oh, it's because of of these pills is why I'm losing weight. I'm not eating. I'm doing all these things. So about 2012 is when I checked myself into the first inpatient treatment center in Orlando, called the Center for Drug-Free Living. I was there for a couple of months, and that's where I was introduced to AA and NA. I only went to those meetings because they told me I had to go to those meetings, and that's where I met my first sponsor in AA. His name is, I don't know if I can do that, never mind. So he was there every single night, right? He would bring people with him. He looked happy, he looked joyous, things of that sort. He played golf. I was like, I don't know if that's cool, but I'll go play golf with you, And I remember starting to do the steps with him. He would pick me up from treatment. They would allow me to go to do step work with him. We would go to his apartment. And I remember getting on my knees and doing a 3rd step prayer with him one day. And I was like, this is weird. And he was like, look, there's going to come a time and a place where you're not going to have this group of people, or your sponsor, or anything of that. And it's going to come between you and God, whether or not you get high or not again, And I was like, okay. To be honest with you, at that particular moment, I did not believe him. I never made it to the 4th step. I left that treatment center. And that was in 2012. So I did what I did best. I ran. I called that boss back again out of Atlanta, Georgia, and was like, look, I'm doing good now. I need a job. He knew I did good work. He didn't know if he could trust me or not. He ended up putting me back on a job in Northeast. I think I was in Virginia somewhere. And over the next couple of years, I continued to work for him using behind his back. I showed up, but it got to a point where I was going to end up losing my job again. And he put me on a job on the east coast of Florida. I was going to be staying in Port St. Lucie, but working out of Jupiter, Florida, and so I was working there, and I ended up meeting this girl on Tinder, and you know, she had a house. You know, I was like, so I ended up, the company that we were subbing work from was like, look, like, we would like to hire you on. She definitely was not about to let me live with her. So I ended up moving into a recovery home. I'm like, yeah, I'm in recovery, like things like that. It was, fake it till you make it, things like that. And I was living there. She had a 6-month-old daughter at the time. At this time, I already had a 6 or 7-year-old boy. And she had a daughter. Her family moved her down here from Long Island and to get away from an addict father, Madeline's addict father. And so they bought her a place down here to get away from him. And I ended up getting her pregnant too. I couldn't pull out the driveway. I get her pregnant as well, and we actually had Jackson 12/31 of 2016. You see a picture of Violet there on the bottom left, and I'll just tell you, at that point, I moved out and moved in with her, and so now I was hiding my drug use from her as well. I got a job in town, and Jackson was born December 31st of 2016. It was about at that time. I had gave my mother a phone call. Jackson was maybe about a month or so old. My mother was still living in Orlando. I was now living on the East Coast. I called my mother. She sounded really lethargic. It wasn't normal for her. She was like always up and it was kind of like I am, I guess. She didn't sound good, and she said, that she was fine, things of that sort. I got a phone call later on in the evening from her husband at the time, her husband, and he said, there's something wrong with your mother. We need to get her to a hospital. She was one of those that's like, I'm not going to a hospital. Her normal wasn't normal. She always worried about everybody else, taking care of me, taking care of my grandparents, taking care, you know what I mean, that she didn't take care of herself, that self-care. She always worried about everybody else. And we found out that my mother had uterine cancer. So it was tough. She ended up going to the hospital, doing the whole chemo stuff and doing all of that. They ended up, she actually, she went, finished her chemo treatments and all this stuff, ringing the bell, like everything was fine. And I want to say it was about the end of May, and I talked to her again on the phone, and I mean, she was back to normal. Like, it was great, right? I mean, she had already, like, lost her hair, was buying, like, $500 wigs. Like, she was happy, right? Like, she was good. But something still wasn't right. I talked to her again about the end of of May, and I heard that lethargic voice again, right? And I was scared, right? And we ended up finding that she had a brain tumor. The cancer had metastasized to her brain. And June 10th is when she ultimately lost her life. At that point, I really went off the deep end. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know how to grieve. There's no proper way to grieve. Like, grief is love with nowhere to go, and I didn't have anywhere to put that love anymore. Like, I know I had children and stuff, but that was my rock. Like, so it was about if you see the top left picture, so before my mom's passing, she got to come to the East Coast. She wasn't able to travel a lot because she didn't want to get sick, things of that sort. So I was actually having a gallbladder surgery. Her best friend was able to drive her over real quick. We were actually in a hospital there. That was the only time she was able to meet my middle child, Jackson. And like I said, that was maybe February or March, and then like I said, she ultimately passed in June. So that was 2017. At that point, I was still doing all the things that I said I would never do. So now I'm living with this woman. We have a newborn baby. Her parents are snowbirds, and her parents also had a house in the same town. They would go to and from half the year, 6 months out the year. The 6 months they were gone, I was in their home robbing them to pay for this drug addiction, like this habit that I had. I tried to hide it for as long as I could. I was in the bathroom one day and I was like, I just couldn't take it anymore, that guilt and that shame and that, So I told her. I mean, she knew that I was getting high. She never said anything to me, but like when I started like cleaning and like doing all this stuff, she's like, I knew you were high, But at this point, now I had robbed her family. I was doing the same thing to her that her first child's father did to her. Her parents had, like I said, had bought us a home, and they're like, look, like, he's got to go, right? So what does John do? Run, right? Call that guy back in Atlanta. I'm like, I need a job, And he hired me back. He hired me back. That's one thing that I always relied on in my addiction was my work, like the skilled trade that I had. And I traveled the country for a couple of years. I had to go to detox right from there before I went to work. I went to detox. Was not going to do the whole treatment thing. It wasn't for me. So I ended up traveling again. It was, at this time, I had lost my grandmother, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother. And being as I had never met my father, this was like the only family that I had, right, besides the ones that I had made. And I got a phone call from my grandfather, and he said, look, like, your aunt, who is a drug addict, lives in Osprey, Florida, right? And I know you haven't had the best relationship. My mother and her never got along. My mother was not an addict. I would wake up, my aunt would be like hitting me in a drug rage. My mother would like be beating her up. And I'd be like, you're trying to kill her? She's like, I'm trying to, like it was bad, And my mother wanted to protect me at any cost. And my grandfather's like, look, I know you haven't had a great relationship with her, but that's pretty much all the family you have left. And in my head, like, oh, she's a drug addict. Let me go live with her, right? So I ended up on a job traveling the country in Bradenton. That's when my grandfather said, hey, you need to go there and, reconcile with your aunt and have that relationship. So I was like, this is great. I don't have to work. She's a drug addict. Like, everything's going to be good. So that's what I did. I quit the job. I came here. I stopped working. And a horrible choice, But what that led to in that addiction, over the next couple of years, I met the mother of my daughters in that addiction. I believe it was June or July, end of July 2023, and I had gotten my first drug charge. And this was me. Nikki. So, this was the end of July 2023. My sobriety date is August 17th of 2023. I was picked up, and it was God's grace. I literally, I was either gonna die. That's all there was. I was gonna die if I continued to use. I had picked up. This was actually my first possession charge. They put me in jail, and they said, we're going to give you pretrial release. And I'm like, this is great, This is great. They're going to let me right back out, right? So they did. They let me right back out same day. And I thought as long as I don't take a drug test, I don't fail one, right? So I'm like, this is great, you know? So I continued to use, and they came and found me. I didn't have a clean pair of underwear on. I didn't have any clean clothes on. I was living in a shed behind a lady's house that didn't even probably want me there. Yeah, it was horrible. Like I seen a flashlight coming. I thought it was my buddy, and it was like Sarasota County, and I'm like, whoa. So they pick me up. They bring me to jail, and I sit there for about 30 days or so, maybe. And I was offered drug court, and I was like, oh. And the lady over the phone, was the case manager at the time, was telling me, you know, as long as you give us an address, we'll let you out today, and you'll be on drug court, right? And I'm like, this is great. I'm gonna get out, you know, like, and they had me come on a Tuesday morning to view drug court. So I sat over there in shackles, and I remember seeing somebody that I actively used with off to my right-hand side, and this girl actually got client of the week that week. And I think what happened is it put a little bit of hope in my life. Like, it was like, you know what, like, if she can do it, I can do it, right? Just that little bit of hope. And I still didn't know if I was going to do it. They were like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to continue viewing drug court, and at the end, you can decide whether or not you want to do it. So I went back over there in my shackles, and I just prayed to God that He helped me make the right decision, you know. Because they were about to let me go back to my aunt's house, just give them an address. I'll be right back there using. I was going to, you know, F up, and I was going to be done. So I prayed to God, and God told me that I needed help, you know, and that I couldn't do it on my own. And I got back up in front of the judge, and I said, look, Judge, like, not only do I need treatment, but, like, I need halfway. I need treatment. Like, I need help, right? I need structure. I need accountability. Like, this is what I need. So they're like, all right, go back to jail. You'll be back next week. And I'm like, oh. But what had happened was I got to go back and reflect on my life leading up to this point. And that's what I did. I had to do a bed-to-bed transfer. So I was picked up by another recovery home here in Sarasota. And I was there. Oh, no. Sorry. I went to the Salvation Army first. They put me straight. VIP. First, they put me in treatment. So they put me right to the Salvation Army. I lasted there not even 30 days. What had happened is I had a lot of unmanageability in my life, right? So I was working in the kitchen, and some of you may know the story. I was working in the back. I put this brownie in my pocket. So this was on a Friday, right? So come Monday, I go into Mr. Rick's office, and there's this still photo of me with this brownie like this, right? And I'm like, Mr. Rick, like, I know what this is about. He's like, oh, yeah, pack your shit and go. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't even think I grabbed my cell phone. I'm like, you're letting me out? They're like, yeah, go. And I'm like, grab my stuff. I'm going to my aunt's house, right? That was just immediate. There was no time frame to think, to pray, to do none of that. It was just immediate action, like go back to that lifestyle. And so I went to my aunt's house. I had to go to drug court the following Tuesday. They locked me right up. So now I was sober at the time. Now, that time that I left from the Salvation Army until that next Tuesday, I stayed sober. And they put me back in jail. Now I'm waiting for the other recovery homes community to come out and to pick me up. And I went there, and I was there about not even 90 days. I didn't even finish my 90 and 90. I was working. I was back in, to be honest, when I first went there, I was working at the Circle K. I didn't have no license. I didn't have no credit score. I didn't have anything. I was riding a bicycle to get to work. I was paying my child support, paying my rent, and I was bringing home like $19 a week. But I was doing it, right? I was riding. I didn't have no money. I was hitting food pantries wherever I could, getting rides with the house, whatever I could do, right? So I ended up getting my old lady pregnant at the time, and I was working. I didn't come home. I don't even think this was the first time I didn't come home on time. First time it was like, okay, you get your ass here, you know. But the second time, I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, wasn't home by curfew, and that's when they had to kick me out, you know. I had a lot of unmanageability early in recovery. I was sober, but I just needed help, you know. I just needed guidance and structure and things of that sort. Put me right back in jail the next day because it was a bed-to-bed transfer. That's when I came to, I needed another halfway house. They actually told me I didn't have to go back to treatment. They would allow me to try and do it again in And I think Judge Aaron's had seen in me that I really wanted to do it. I just needed an extra, So they allowed me out. That's when Joel had sent somebody to come pick me up, and I had been in these recovery homes for probably about a year and a half, and I was like, yeah, please let me be a house leader, like I just wanted to, but let me tell you what had happened. So this year, towards the end of last year, September 10th, me and Tiffany gave birth to Violet. Yeah, and let me tell you, this girl has been she's been a lifesaver, I was sober at the time, but I can't give up on her, Her mother's an addict as well, and her mother used baby in utero, things of that sort. I was sober at the time, right? But I loved her unconditionally, I know they say don't get in a relationship in your first year, but they didn't tell you to get out of one, right? So I was like, and I loved her, and I told her I would never give up on her, and I haven't. And so she ended up using all the way to the day Violet was born. And let me tell you, God is good, man. Prayer works. I prayed so much, to try, but you can't want it for somebody more than until they're ready, right? And I would just pray and pray and pray. And September the 10th, we went and had Violet, and so DCF comes in. They're like, hey, we got to drug test you, her and baby. Me and baby had nothing in her systems, right? Even though she used her entire pregnancy, Violet had nothing in her system. So they couldn't do anything like open a case plan, do things of that sort, you know what I mean? But she was ready now at that point. She's like, look, I need help, right? So she was able to go and do a 7-month stay at Mothers and Infants, and to turn her life around. At that same time, I just continued to grind, go to meetings, help people, do whatever I could, you know what I mean? I had called my original sponsor that I was on my knees doing the 3rd step prayer with. We did my 12 steps over the phone again. I was like, dude, I want it, and I'll do whatever it takes to stay sober this time, you know what I mean? And because I thought to myself, am I going to be a single father? I had made my other 2 kids' mothers do it without me, right? But I didn't know if this time if I was going to have to, right? And I was like, if they can do it, I can do it, right? Since then, I had became a house lead in our halfway houses. I tried to mentor and be there for other addicts and alcoholics, whatever way they can. Something that somebody told me was if you can't bring the message to the addict or alcoholic, bring the addict or alcoholic to the message, right? So I'm here I am just driving wherever I can do, man, you need a ride, I got you, And that accountability and that stuff that it puts in my life, is what keeps me sober. Today, I'm sober, on the 12-step, bringing this message to other addicts and alcoholics, helping them, getting out of self. I had been selfish for so long. And so I had became house leader, and so these are just a couple of pictures. You guys are my family, You guys inspire me, and you guys drive hope in my life. And I hope you heard something today that inspires you and drives hope in yours. Thank you for letting me share. I'm sweating up here.
Terrible relationship advice. Terrible.
Terrible relationship.
Don't listen to John.
Don't ask me on relationship advice, please.
Hey, if John has done anything to help you in your recovery, raise your hand. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, he moved out, but we just still can't get rid of the guy. He's always around. What do you think was different this time from all the other times?
Hold it. I know what it is. I'm going to speak for myself, and I'll just tell you that all I did was put God in my life, keep God in my life, and 12-step programs and things of that sort could get me sober, but they never kept me sober. So the only thing that I've done any differently this time was that I put God in my life, I keep Him in my life, you know what I mean? And to be honest, that was the big difference this time for me, was that, you know what I mean? Because I had been in AA, I had been in NA, I had tried everything, all for the wrong reasons, but this time, like I said, I like I said, I was Jonah. When God said go right, I went left, you know. When I'm in these rooms, when I'm here at Grace Life Church, when I'm in these recovery meetings, like I feel like I'm in the belly of the beast, right? I just feel like, and I know that's God's grace. Here I feel safe, you know? So that was the only thing I've done
This
different.
dude's, yeah. I feel like anytime I venture out to any meeting or church service or anywhere, John's right there. Just creeps up out of nowhere. You're a huge inspiration to me, and obviously by the show of hands in the room, you are what recovery looks like. When recovery works, you're the perfect example of what someone needs to do, you know, to turn the life around. I love you, man.
I appreciate
you.
that. Thank you, Andrew.
I love you more. That was me. Anybody got any questions or want to say anything to John?
Love you, John. Love you too, buddy.
Don? Don, it's you? Come on. The wisest man in the room, Don Thompson.
Don, I call it. You know, when I met you, John, I thought, how's a young guy like this, always smiling, and you had this spiritual aura around you? You kind of reminded me of me, very fertile. And, I had 3 kids from 3 different women, and all the kids look like blonde hair and green eyes from me. It's amazing. But you know what, John? Keep on keeping on, brother. You're doing a good job. Thank you.
I love you, Don.
Fertile Don, Fertile Don.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jessica.
John. I got to meet John when he first came in the halfway houses, riding the electric scooters and electric bikes. That's how I met John. He was fixing my scooter all the time for me. And, you know, I continued to see him at meetings. And then I got to meet Tiffany when she was in the program. And then I got to see their love for their child. And this is the first time I got to hear your story. So relatable and like raw, right? Raw. People, I hope people can relate to you because that's what I need and that's what we need is people that are raw and vulnerable. To see the man that you've become, the father that you've become, like Andrew said, you are recovery. You live recovery, and I'm grateful to be your friend.
I'm grateful for you too. Thank you, Jim. You guys are making me cry.
I'm Jesse. I'm an addict.
What's up, Jesse?
So I met you a little while back, John, and I just want to let you know, like, you are an inspiration to so many guys in this room. There is not one time that I have not seen you with a group of guys helping them with rides or anything they need. Like, that's all I ever see you do is helping out and reaching to the next person, you know, in line right now. So I want to let you know you're an idol to a lot of people in this room today.
Just a vessel, buddy. Thank you.
So old buddy there, John, you remember the day I was in shackles? And John come walking in, and he was getting his silver team. I still don't know what silver team is. I may never achieve it. But he was getting silver team, and I remember thinking, man, what should I do? So naturally, I'm trying to sign language and put money on my books. Put money on my books.
I had no idea what he was saying.
Right. I was doing this, like this.
Yeah.
And John, I think, got a candy bar, and he got his little certificate. And when I got back to the recovery pod, a recovery Bible was delivered to me. So God was seeing my sign of submission in the hope of John being sober, because maybe one day I get to share with you not the darkness that we went through, but the light we achieved by going through the darkness, because now he can say, hey, I did A, B, and C. Now it's time for D to take over for the rest of the alphabet. Because this man has experience by learning the hard way, not just by listening, because we heard a lot from a lot of different people, and usually addicts lie to you. But when we got down in there, my knowledge of bikes comes from this man. Because I watched him, we had bikes run over us, we had bikes taken, stirred, built, and there's not nothing he doesn't know about bikes, but now he's knowing a lot about prosperity. Because that little child, Violet, is going to be a leader of nations. As she's not going to know what we went through, she's going to know the prosperous side, the relevant side. Amen. And John's great-grandchildren are going to look back and say, boy, that was my great-grandpa. They might not put up a statue, but what they're going to do is look through the books of the past, and they're going to go, who's that guy? And was a photo when you get mugshot, the great-grandchildren are going to have pictures in the DMV of congressmen, governors, lieutenant governors, state senators, or their aides, because when you're a servant, God places you in a position like John. One day you're going to see this man, a Violet, and I knew Tiffany when she was pregnant. I was in the same house, but he's telling you the God's honest truth. That baby come out without a trace of drugs in her. That was the Holy Spirit holding him for his sobriety. And the last thing I'm going to say is, John, you're definitely an inspiration to me, because in those shackles and you getting that silver certificate was my moment.
Amen.
And I love you, brother. I
love you
really
too,
do.
buddy.
You know, I'll do anything for you.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey, Paul, can you put that picture back up of him, his mugshot?
So when
Hold
he
on. So this is the picture of a guy who's probably like asking to bum a smoke or. Can I get a push? Let me get a push.
Let me get yeah. I remember when Salvador was in those shackles, and Salvador actually gave me this wallet a few years ago. And that's what I thought. He was like, hey, do you still have the wallet? And I'm like, yeah, it's right, you know. He was asking for some money, and I'm like, yeah, I still got the wallet to this day, man. You know, there's people in here that, you know, that I've used with, that I've lived with, and, you know. And like I said, I just want you all to prosper, man, you know. You guys all inspire me, you know. And,
John,
Asa.
it was a pleasure coming here and listening to your story, man. I'm glad you called me
Thank
and my
you.
lady. Let us know you're going to be here tonight. You know, it's better. I'm glad I came for sure. Just want to tell you, I can relate with a lot of things you were saying, other than the part with having children. You know, downtown Atlanta, getting off a bus. You know, being like, what the hell am I getting myself
That was
into?
rough.
Yeah, I know what that was like. But just want to tell you, man, I look at you as a good friend of mine, and I got mad respect for you. I love you, bud.
Love you too, Asa. Thank you, buddy.
Anybody else? Oh God, no.
My name's Beth. I'm an addict. John, I love you, bro.
I love you too.
I love you. You know, I was just thinking while you were sharing that, like, I've been coming around the rooms, 12-step recovery, for like 12 years now at this point. And in that time, I've only met like a handful of people who do service like John does service, you know. And I feel like he swoops in on newcomers and he's like, bro, I'm going to help you. And they're like, I don't want any help. And he's like, I'm going to help you, you know. Like, that's the kind of service that John does. And it helps plant seeds. It helps save lives, right? Like, we can't make anyone get clean. We can't make anyone stay clean. But, like, we can plant a seed of hope. And that's what John does. Like, you are the baseline of what I hope to present as a recovering addict in a room, like walking in like, oh, life's so great. Like, I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful all the time. That's not how I present, but that's how you present. In every room that I ever see you in, I'm like, you know, I like scan the room for you. I'm like, where's John? Because like he's gonna put me in a good mood. You know what I mean? Like the vibe, just like the vibe of gratitude and of recovery, just like it oozes out of you, homie. And I love that. You know, I'm just so grateful that I got to know you. I feel like everywhere I go, there you are. It's like, where did he come from? Oh, but there he is. Oh, he's at Celebrate Recovery. Oh, he's at church. Oh, he's at a meeting.
He's at work.
He's like
He's at work.
Yeah, he's at work. Like he's literally everywhere. And I'm so glad that I got to know you. It's like at one point a couple of months ago, I didn't know who you were, and then the next day we were friends, and I was like, how'd that happen? You know? But I'm so glad that it did, because like I know that if I ever needed something, or I needed someone to talk to, or I needed help with something, like you would be there, right? And that's what I hope to be for other people and for you if you ever need me. I love you.
I love you.
Hey, John.
Hey, Angela.
I'm Angela. I'm an addict.
Hi, Ange.
So, you know, I really like what Beth said, too. And it made me think, like, I remember the Sally story. I remember that. We were in the Sally together. And just like, you're just this light, and I enjoy being your friend. I'm so grateful to know you. And somebody said the e-bike thing. For a long time, he was called E-Bike John in my phone. And I knew I could call him for anything, and I know I still can call you. And I'm just so blessed to have you as a friend, and I'm really proud of you and all the things that you do. You're a great example of how recovery should be, and I love you.
I love you too. Thank you.
If John hadn't have stole that brownie, he might not be sitting up there tonight.
You never know.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, Greg?
Greg, alcoholic.
What's up, Greg?
Man, John, I'll tell you what, man, you are definitely an inspiration to a lot of people. I remember when I first met you, we were having a meeting, a Wednesday meeting at the Salvation Army, many a strange camel meeting, and Chris brought you, just show up, just +1, and I'm like, who is this guy? You know, you're just gonna show up over here? I mean, like, what's your name, buddy? You know what I mean? And I don't know, but he had just the most powerful thing to say. That meeting, I turned and looked at Chris, and I'm like, who is this guy? You know, why? Like, how long has he been in your house? He said, oh, he's been in about 8 months. Like, how the hell do I not know him? But it was like, that was the beginning. I think that was probably the beginning of when your recovery started to take off. You know, it's like you finally turned the corner and you were like, I need to start doing something. And you kind of talked about it that night. And look at you now, man. You inspire a lot of men in this program, because you do the damn thing, man. You, like I said, like Beth said, you are everywhere. I mean, literally, I think you have a clone. But I just wanted to thank you, man, and I love you. I appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate you, Greg.
Make it quick, Charles.
I'm an addict named Charles.
What's up, Charles?
John, you know, one of the things that really caught my attention when you was talking about the geographical cure. Oh, yeah. Better believe it. 5 out of 7. I'm going to whip you on that one. But when you were talking about the geographical cure and you were talking about Atlanta, Georgia, I remember that, because I remember how poorly it was itself, because I was in that roughest area in downtown in Atlanta, on the Greyhound bus station itself. And that was very scary for me as well. But, you know, the geographical cure itself never worked at all. And I'm already made my decision in my own heart that this is going to be my last place I'm going to live at.
Amen.
You know, because I want this. I have been over 2 years, and I have been doing what I've been doing each and every day. And that is always constantly chasing my recovery, and like I chase my dope. And that's what I want. Thanks.
Amen. Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Charles.
We got time for 1 or 2 more if anybody has anything on. Okay. Oh, yeah, of course.
Got it.
Of course you.
It's just Atlanta talk. I bought the most expensive bag of oregano at the McDonald's in the Omni Center that I've ever paid for. I'm Scotty T. I'm an alcoholic.
What's up,
I'm
Scotty?
grateful to be here. Like everybody said, what an inspiration you are. It's a beautiful thing, and I've been blessed to be able to go into the recovery pod for the last 12 years, you know, and man, seeing you guys come out and prosper and do what you do is so, I mean, it's like the biggest rush ever, right? Being high on life is certainly a real thing. And I'm so grateful that you get to do the things that you do, and you are a major service to this program. You do, I mean, amongst other things, you know, you come to church on Sundays and just help out Grace Life. You are living the Grace Life.
Amen.
And with that being said, blessed is the brief.
Thank you, Scotty.
Hi, I'm Tika. I'm a recovering
Hi,
addict.
Tika.
I just wanted to say I love you.
Thank you, Martika.
Aw.
So wholesome.
We'll hit the next slide, Paul. We give one more hand to John. Next slide. All right, Angela's speaking next week.
Hey, Ann.
Make sure you share this with all your friends on Facebook. Invite everybody you know.
Invite.
Yeah, so that, and then we have Kat, Ladies Night, and then Paul will be the end of the month. You want to close us out, John? All right, what do we do?
Go help someone.